The version 3.3 livestream just came out, and now you might be wondering, who should you be pulling for? Because we now know what 4 characters are coming to version 3.3, that being Miss Cutie Patootie Hyacinth, or maybe that's how you say her name, Cipher as well, the Herta, and Aglaea too. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over every single character, pros, cons, future-proof ability, kind of their best in slot teammates, everything like that, and who should you be pulling for? Because each one of these characters offers you something different for your account that works with different teammates that you might have on your account, with different sets of pros and cons based off of what they do and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into all the pros first, starting off with Miss Hyacine first. She is first of all going to be giving you major heals. And what I mean by this is that she's giving you a lot of heals at one time, and she's giving very consistent heals as well when we talk about the closest thing to preventative healing that there is. Secondly, guys, she's going to be a great sub DPS. And why is this? First of all, she gives herself a 100% free crit rate. Her little Luca, whatever the name is, he gets free damage bonuses depending on like stats for the team, stats for her, and stuff like that. So overall, you're able to get a lot of damage out with her depending on the scenario. So a great sub DPS for being a healer. Next thing, guys, is she's giving a max HP increase to the team. So characters like casters, characters like Mighty, any HP scaling character is going to absolutely love having this. And like I said, the closest thing to preventative healing, the reason why this is because she can basically heal you whenever an enemy attacks you or whenever you take action or something like that, right? Think of it like Bailu's Invigorate, but upgraded, because it happens for every single attack. While Bailu's Invigorate is not like the best thing in the world, that is her main source of healing. So really, really good there. She has a lot of pros. She has a lot of things going for her. Now let's go ahead and hop on the pros of Miss the Herta here, because she'll be running the same time as she is. So first things first with the Herta, guys, she gives an 80% crit damage bonus to your whole team if you have an Erudition teammate on the team with her. So absolutely massive there. Number 2, she gives a damage bonus to herself, or she gets increased damage by having Erudition teammates. So that's also really massive in terms of her damage. She has amazing free-to-play teams, meaning you can run characters like Remembrance MC there. You can run characters like the Herta there, or Serval there as a sub DPS. You can even run Gallagher on the team as well that does like AoE attacks, and it can help with just overall AoE damage and gaining stacks for her. So very free-to-play friendly in that sense. She's an AoE fiend, meaning if you go up against any content that you really need to be attacking a lot of enemies at one time, she is the girly for the job. And then finally, guys, she is sub DPS capable. And what I mean by this, guys, is really she gets a lot of energy back from your other allies attacking. So if you have other allies on the team that are attacking a lot of enemies at once, she's getting energy back up, and then you're only using skill points whenever you proc her ultimate move off, and you're using her bing bing key attack, right? Her enhanced skill attack there. So a lot of pros with her. Honestly, probably one of the most free-to-play friendly characters that is going to be released in version 3.3. Now let's talk about Miss Cipher here, which honestly, oh, I love Cipher, guys. The cat girl, she's great. She's amazing. Starting off, guys, she is the sub DPS. And honestly, I do think she'll probably be the best sub DPS in the game, and probably for a while to come, but we'll touch more on that later on in the video. So make sure you're subscribed and watch to that part to see that. Anyways, she also is giving you true damage on her ultimate move. If we're thinking about characters that give you true damage, it's really in a sense of a buff, right? So Remembrance MC gives true damage to one character. Tribby gives you true damage as well, but in terms of a buff. She gives it to herself, which is really, really nice. This bypasses any type of weakness, shred, stuff like that. This makes her a lot more future-proofable in the sense that it doesn't matter what resistances, what defenses the enemies get, she will bypass it. The only thing that could power creep her in this sense would be an inflated HP pool, which, let's be honest, they do that already. Now, number 3, guys, debuff on the skill. This means she can be used in comps with Acheron, possibly. Now, there is a bit of a caveat with that, but she does offer you a debuff with her skill, which can make her viable in those Acheron-S teams. She also has blast attacks, so this makes her viable in teams that you want to be doing AoE damage, like teams with the Herta, for example, right? So she can also work in those scenarios too, and she hits multiple enemies, which honestly, at the game at this state, you really do want to be hitting multiple enemies at one time. She gives a lot of free crit here, which leads to an overall easier build for her, because then you can focus a lot more on crit damage, and then you have 40% vulnerability to every single enemy on the field, which is absolutely massive, and this future-proofs her so much, it's fucking real, guys. Having 40% vulnerability is just massive. Like, genuinely, it is just massive without having to do anything, really. And then, let's hop into the final section of pros here, which is for Miss Aglaea, right? Now, Aglaea has amazing damage. I don't think there is any doubt in anyone's mind that she does amazing damage. When you're running her on the correct team with the correct light cones, she is probably one of the best, if not the best, damage dealer in the game. Now, hopping into kind of what we mentioned mentioned with Cipher, guys, also has blast attacks, meaning she hits one main enemy and then hits adjacent enemies for a smaller amount, but blast attack is really good for more AoE scenarios. Then she gives herself a lot of free speed. Speed, one of the hardest stats to get in the game. Guys, if you shit on Mr. Pokey for his insane speed build, then hey, you know the fucking struggle here, right? She also has huge attack gains as well that scales off the speed, so she gives herself a lot of free speed, which inherently gives her a lot of free attack as well. So massive stat gains all around the board, and then she has a joint attack, which counts as 2 instances of attack. I think joint attacks are really, really cool. But that's really all that I have in terms of the pros for these characters. If you see the pros that maybe would benefit you the most, then that's the character to pull for. But don't click off the video just yet, because now we have to talk about the cons of every one of these characters. And some of these characters have more cons than others. Let's start off with the most cons first, Aglaea. I don't have a vendetta against Aglaea. I just think she is one of the clunkiest characters ever, especially if you don't have her with her correct team. I think whenever you have her on her correct team, she becomes great. If you have her with her correct stuff she needs, she becomes great. Genuinely, guys, in my mind, I do not know how they put this behind an Eidolon, because she really does need this. She has so high energy, like her energy cost is so insanely high at 350, the highest energy cost in the game, and they're locking 20 extra energy down every single time she or the Memo Sprite attacks behind an Eidolon. This should have been introduced with the kit. I would have had much less gripes with her if this was introduced in the kit, and this is without her best in slot teams. With her best in slot teams, that can make up for it some, but overall you still want E1 or S1 this character to really make her function. So there's a lot more upfront investment, in my opinion, with this character to make her function good. But when she's functioning good, like I mentioned, amazing damage. Hey gamers, a little quick side note here, a little quick adjustment I want to make here. I did not know that S1 didn't give energy. For some reason I thought S1 gave energy. Don't mind this. You need E1, not E1/S1. So E1 is what you really want there. Now let's go ahead and hop into the dedicated team, guys. She has like a team, and that's really the team, right? I'm sure you can see the common occurrence across most of her best in slot teams. They almost always include the addition of Sunday on the team, because you need the energy. Most all these teams include the addition of on the team, because you need the energy. So 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have to be running her on a team with and Sunday, so that's a lot of investment there. So like, she needs those 2 characters, which leaves very little room for like alterations to the team. The build on her is rough as well. Like I mentioned before, she gives herself a lot of speed, she gives herself a lot of attack. Crit rate, crit damage, not very much. So the build is rough in that department there. And really, this also plays into no good free-to-play options. Like in terms of teammates, doesn't have very good free-to-play options in terms of teammates like we saw over here, guys. The only really good free-to-play option I guess she has would be Remembrance MC, and that is, you can see how fucking good that does for her right there, right? So not really any good free-to-play options in terms of teams, and light cones as well. If we take a look at what light cones are in the game right now that really work for the new Remembrance class, right? And this really applies for any Remembrance character, truthfully and honestly. There is nothing really good that she can use other than her signature light cone. And then finally, very selfish on the buff department. Like, she gives a lot of buff to herself, but she doesn't give buff to your teammates, which doesn't make her very future-proofable in my opinion, because if she's only giving buffs to herself, whenever she gets power crept in the damage department, she is kind of donezo. Whereas characters maybe like Cipher here wouldn't have that as fall off as much, because she gives 40% vulnerability to the whole enemy squad. Now let's hop into Cipher, right? Cipher's cons. She really does rely on ally damage, so if your allies are not doing big damage, sure, she is not doing big damage either. That also compounds with her main DPS capability is, like I mentioned, she relies on enemies, she relies on your allies to deal damage, so she does big damage because she takes a tally of the damage your allies are doing, and then that's how she figures out her own damage number from her ultimate move, right? She really relies on her ultimate move to do big damage. If your allies are not doing big damage, then cooked. Number 2, guys, she needs a lot of fucking speed. An insane amount of speed to get the free stats you want to get for her, so speed is going to be Hey, build into that speed, trust gamers. And then finally, guys, she only has one follow-up per turn, which is kind of ass, especially for those really follow-up S teams. Not to say that she can't work there, because she does have a really high speed, so she's going often. Just in terms of the follow-up per turn, I wish it was a little bit higher. Now let's hop into Miss Herta here. Needs Erudition all time. There's no flexibility in this position. You always want one Erudition character on the team, because if you don't, then you lose 80% crit damage, and you lose a lot of her own damage by not having an extra Erudition character on the team. Also, she needs AoE scenarios scenarios to be really good, or a single target DPS like an Axa right now. And if you don't have this, her damage drops off a lot in more single target or low target scenarios when there's maybe only 2 enemies, maybe 3 enemies on the field. Her damage does drop off a fucking mountain without something like this. And you also want to build into some crit rate too, because she doesn't really give herself much of that. She gives herself a lot of free crit damage, but crit rate is kind of lacking there, so you definitely want to be building into that. Now, finally, Miss Hyacine here, guys. Sustain problem. If you already have 2 sustains, no really point of pulling for her, guys, especially if you have 1 healer, 1 tank on your account already. The only thing that she really provides to the team outside of sustaining for the team is literally just maybe like an increased amount of sustainability, and then also max HP for the team. I guess she gives you some sub DPS damage as well, but that sub DPS damage is literally determined on the amount of HP you're losing. So if you're not losing much HP, her sub DPS damage kind of falls off the window. And then she provides real no buffs for the team, guys. The only buff she provides, like I mentioned, is a max HP increase for the team. Not everyone wants that. There's only certain characters, and those are very few characters that want it. And then we have needs a lot of speed as well. Her and Cipher are almost the same in this aspect. They both want a lot of fucking speed. Now let's hop into best in slot teammates, guys. And this should be one of the main factors in determining whether you should pull for a character or not, because these are the characters you already have in your account. Best in slot partner for Miss Hyacine here, Castress or HP Scalers. Obviously, other characters that want you to attack AoE will also work here. Obviously, other characters that want you to attack often will work here too, like Fei Xiao and like other characters like that, right? But best in slot partner is going to be Castress. Now let's hop into Miss Herta here. Jade, Tribia, Naxa, or Herta, right? So the reason I put so many here is because she just works with a lot of different people. Now with Naxa versus Jade, Naxa is better in most scenarios with 4 targets and under, while Jade is better with 5 targets usually. So with that being said, that's why I put both of those there. Tribia, obviously best in slot buffer, AoE damage, really builds stacks up, really helps with the damage formula as well. And then Herta, I put Herta here because Herta is a free-to-play fiend. She can work with just so many different characters. Now let's hop on to Cipher here, guys. Acheron, Fei Xiao, Castress. Now, Fei Xiao, because you have follow-up attacks, she does attacks very often, she's very fast, and also you're going to be calculating that damage. So say you kill an enemy, right? You're calculating the damage you took to kill that enemy, and then you can use that for Cipher to target another enemy, and then get damage on top of that. Castress, because you're doing a lot of damage to the enemy. The more damage you do to an enemy, the more damage she is going to do with her ultimate move. So she is literally incentivized by power creep, in my opinion. Now, the reason why I have an asterisk here, guys, because for Acheron, you want E2, S1, or a debuff light cone like Pearls of Sweat. Because if you're running her with the Acheron team, you want to be putting debuff every single turn. So that means when you're using your basic attacks, you want to be able to put a debuff on the enemy. And that allows you to do that with E2. That allows you to do it with S1. And it allows you to do it with maybe like a Pearls of Sweat light cone there. The reason I say it's a disclaimer here is because we'll be losing a lot if you're running Pearls of Sweat light cone on her. She loses a lot of damage. Now hopping into Aglaea here, Sunday Hua Hua, you really want both these characters of the team to make her function properly. Now guys, on to the final point of the video, which honestly is probably the most important part of all these things here. Future-proof ability. This is how good they're going to be in the future, and just my general thoughts on it, right? So first of all, let's start off with Aglaea first. Now, she's a super selfish DPS, meaning she doesn't give anything to the team, really. It's all for herself. She gives everything for herself, and she really doesn't have that much more growth on the top end unless you're finding a replacement for Hua Hua, or you're finding a replacement for your Sunday there. There's not much growth there. I feel like she's already kind of where her damage ceiling is going to be at for the foreseeable future. Number 2, guys, is she will get better whenever we get more debuffers or people that give energy, right? So if we get a better addition to the game than like Hua Hua that gives her a better buff to herself, because the attack buff really doesn't matter too much. Characters that give extra energy will help her out a lot, and that will be her future-proof path. But other than that, she's very selfish, and she will get power crept a lot faster than other DPS because she's a very selfish DPS. Now let's move on to the Herta next. She is going to make every Erudition build so much easier because she gives so much free crit damage. It gives you an opportunity now to focus on crit rate instead of crit damage, so this is absolutely massive. She can also be very SP efficient with a main Erudition DPS. If she wants to be a sub DPS, you do basic attack, let your other DPS do the main damage, she gets her ult up, and then you do big bukus of damage because of how much bonuses and damage she's giving to herself based off of her ultimate and her stacks and everything like that. So absolutely massive there, guys. I see a good future-proofing path for someone like the Herta. Now let's move on to Miss Cipher here, guys. Her future-proof path is she's going to be an amazing future sub-DPS that gets better with power creep. And what do I mean by this, guys? The more power creep we get, that means the more damage we're dealing, the more damage her ult's going to deal, because that gives you a higher accumulation. The higher accumulation population you get, the more damage she's going to be doing. So she literally grows with power creep, and she has a super valuable vulnerability debuff, meaning you can throw her in so many teams and just get this value for absolutely free. 40% vulnerability, absolutely massive. Now, finally, onto our last topic here, which is Hyacine, her future-proof ability. She is a sustain that does her job really good. She can do great sub-DPS levels of damage if she's hit properly, but she lacks buffs for an extended future. The only buff she offers the team is an HP buff. So for me, that makes characters like Hua Hua a lot more future-proofable. It makes characters like Adventurine a lot more future-proofable because he gives crit damage. She only gives HP, which is a very, very niche buff to be giving your allies, whereas crit damage is a lot more universal, whereas energy and attack is a lot more universal. This is a very niche buff, and that's where I don't see her going that far. Like I said, she'll be an amazing sustain that has a very consistent sustainability uptime with being a great sub DPS on top of that, so take that for what you will. If you want my opinion on who to pull, guys, take this, read this chart right here, take a screenshot of it or something, guys, right? Because this is your guide to figure out who you should be pulling. Who am I pulling? I'm pulling for Cipher, 100%. If I were to give a quick pull priority here, guys, I would probably say that on my list here, I think Cipher is my number 1 here. I think that probably Herta here is number 2, and then I would probably say Hyacinth's my number 3, but very close to the Herta here. I just don't have cash rush on my account, so it doesn't really matter to me. And then finally, Aglaea. I think Aglaea is just shit in the bed, honestly, guys. So this is my pull priority list. Pull for who you want to pull for at the end of the day. Use this chart for your advantage to figure out who you should be pulling for. That's going to do it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Later, bye.